Okay, apologies if you hear any weird noises in the background. My dogs are chilling out with me while I record because there was a firework that went off and it was really scary, so they need a friend right now. Okay, so I don't know if this counts as like a hot take, but basically, comics are very hard, especially when you're a one-person art team, as I'm sure many of you are, as am I. I mean, I work with a writer. There's some of you who are writing and drawing your entire comic. But basically, it takes a lot to make a comic. There's so many steps to it. There's so much art you have to put on a single page. It's a lot. And I think a lot of us, myself included, get really wrapped up in the idea that our art needs to be super high quality and technically perfect and super detailed, and we want to make really detailed, like breathtaking pages full of details and amazing renderings of our characters, and we want to do super detailed characters with all these little doodads to their costumes, and they're all super realistic or whatever, but the truth is, there's just no time for that. A 100-page comic is going to probably take you about a year to make. If it's a larger story, it's going to take even longer. For example, Magpie, we're like 300 pages in. I've been working on it for like 3 or 4 years. It takes a lot. And I'm also using my pace as a frame of reference, and I know that I am very fast at going through pages, like I do it at lightning speed. So if you're someone who needs to take more time with your art, and there's no shame in that, honestly, I've been trying to get myself to slow down as an artist. If that's you, making your comics is going to take even longer. Not to mention, as an independent artist, there's going to be things that are going to come up and interfere with your work time, whether it's like getting sick, your school, or your day job, family stuff, stress, anything. It's going to get in the way, and you just don't have time to worry about making every single page a masterpiece. I think the best way to make your comics process move along really quickly is to make sure you have all of your prep work done up front, for one. And when you're designing, make sure you are simplifying everything. If you have really simple character designs and set designs, you're going to save yourself a lot of time from having to render and draw all those little details down the road. Now, it's going to save you a lot of time, but at the start of it, simplifying is a really hard task. Simplifying means taking something and pulling away layers of detail until you can convey the same thing with less information. A good example of this is cartoons or anime. For example, having a character with a little dot for their nose can convey that the character has a nose without having to show the bridge of their nose or details on it or nostrils or whatever. So when you're designing, try stripping away as many details as you can without losing the sense of what this character is, for example. So how do you do this? Where do you start? This sounds all well and good, but dang, that is hard. Well, the best place to start is to draw out your character design as... I'm gonna go with character designs, even though this applies to, like, setting, etc. Draw out your character design as complicated and cool and detailed as you want, then start pulling away details. It's easier to start with more instead of starting with less. So for example, say you have a character and you want them to wear a sequined shirt that's super sparkly and there's little beads all over it. Instead of rendering every single bead, can you draw just a few of them here and there to imply the texture? Can you remove details in their hair? Can you simplify the face shape to like a circle or a square instead of rendering out all the planes of their face? And keep doing stuff like that until you have a character who is simple to draw over and over again. And if you go too far and you take away too many details and your character starts to feel bland, like they look kind of like Ditto from Pokemon, or you lose what it was about that character that made them cool or interesting to you in the first place, pull back and add more details in. You might have just stepped a little too far and it's easy to go back. Simplifying things like this will probably also make keeping things on model a lot easier. If you only have to focus on drawing a few simple shapes instead of fully rendering a realistic human face every panel, it's going to be easier to replicate and to do it quickly. And, simplifying doesn't mean that your characters have to lack any features and have no details. They don't all have to wear blank t-shirts and shorts just because you don't want an overly detailed character design. It just means don't overcomplicate things. Don't add in anything that isn't necessary, because you're going to have details that are necessary to a character. Say they have like an important item that they carry, or they have a design motif that is really important to characterizing them. Like, keep that. That's important. But get rid of, say, like the texture of leather boots. I don't know. But simplifying things like that You'll be thanking yourself later when you don't have to draw all those little sequins on your character's shirt every time they're on the page. Because if you had all those and then there was one page where you just didn't draw them, people would be like, what is this? This is weird. So save yourself some effort and some heartache. Places to put lots of detail into your art are things like comic covers or one-off illustrations or even splash pages. These types of things are made to be stared at for a really long period of time. They need details and visual interest in order to hold people's attention, though honestly simplified illustrations are pretty great for their minimalism or how much they can convey despite their simplicity. Anyways, people will be looking at your illustrations for a long time. However, the comic pages themselves will likely be read in a matter of seconds or minutes, and many people won't be looking at your panel as long as you will. So in your comic, through your designs or the style you choose for your comic, make sure that you're giving the reader just enough so that they understand what you need them to understand about your story, and don't worry about putting more than that. You don't gotta be perfect, you know? And all of this doesn't mean that your comics can't be detailed. Comics come in like tons of different styles and detail levels, and that's awesome and great. And if you want to be Junji Ito with your crazy detailed horror comic, do it. That's great. I love that stuff. When I find a comic that's super detailed, I'm all about it. However, I know that it takes a really long time to put out work that detailed, especially for your first comic. But I know personally, I would not be able to put out work that detailed and complicated without having a team working with me. And if I was doing it by myself, it would likely take years for me to put out a single issue of a comic. I mean, for example, I'm the lone artist on 9 Point, and it's taken over a year to put out a 50-page comic issue. So yeah, detail takes a long time. So if you want to release things really quickly, let's say a comic page every week for your webcomic, it's okay to simplify your style choices and like quote unquote cut corners or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I think simplifying is great. You'll get through your projects way faster if you simplify things. You'll have more opportunities to, finish your projects and then move on to your new ideas. Because I know all of you guys have like 5 million comics that you want to work on and you can't choose a project. So if you're going through your projects really quick, then you get to try out all your ideas. And that's really good, Okay, that's all I got. I hope I've convinced you to simplify your stuff, because that saves me trouble. Ooh. I don't actually know if this was a hot take. I don't know if there are people who think that your comics have to be super complicated. Maybe it was just me when I started out. But whatever. I'm fighting the people who say otherwise, I guess. I don't know. Put up your dukes. Okay, I'm gonna go to bed. I forgot that I had to record today, and I have to go to bed because it's late, and I work tomorrow, so I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in a couple days. I hope you enjoy Bones' video tomorrow, and make sure to subscribe if you want to see these hot takes about comics more. Okay, bye!